Hi, everybody. It's Sandra Pelli, the Sandini, Dragon Ally, Galactic Shaman, as well as the Visionary of the Guide Academy. There is some very interesting energy going on, and I'm really recognizing, and this is what my weekly email is going to be about. It's about motivation. And I started out the year of 2023 really talking about that from a different perspective. So when you read the email, at least you're going to have a little bit of background now behind it. When I started out 2023, I spoke about there were so many things that I needed to do with regards to my business, with regards to my spiritual life, or that I felt I needed to do. The thing is that needing to doing them and wanting to do them were two entirely different things. And when I stepped into the energy of I want to do this, that changed everything in my business. It changed everything in my spiritual life. I talk about this because of really, the conversations I'm having with my sister and my stepdad right now around my mom's energy, how quickly she went downhill mentally. And my sister and I, for sure, have really come to realize that there is a major disconnect happening within her brain thought patterns now. And the likelihood of getting that back is slim to none. It's just one of those things that happens. And, we can't kick ourselves about it because we weren't living there. We don't know what's going on. And in all likelihood, there may have been a possibility that nothing would have made a difference anyway. So we're all good with that, my sister and I. Having said that, where the disconnect is that when in having conversation with my stepdad, we kind of went back in history, and I remember my mom taking us out to the lake for birthday parties and making incredible cakes, sewing incredible outfits and clothing for us growing up. And she was motivated to do that. She really enjoyed doing things like that with us and for us. In fact, she was on I believe, the board with the skating rink when they were doing festivals, like skating festivals, like ice capades. I don't know if you're familiar with that phrase or not, but it was more down at a local town level. And she would make our outfits. She would help design sets and things like that. So she was really motivated in that sense, right? And in her later years, we've noticed that the things that motivated her, of course, changed. She made teddy bears. She did all these different things. And then we noticed that as her age moved in and she sat around even more, she was motivated to watch cooking shows, like really motivated to watch cooking shows. And then suddenly it was like, okay, now she's not reading. Now she's not watching cooking shows. Now she's not even really connecting in to make the decision to turn on the volume of the TV, things like that. So that motivation in essence has disappeared. There's a disconnect happening now of like she's been in the hospital for a month. She's now in short-term care. She's been there for a month. She caught COVID. It set her back at least 50%. Her husband's telling her, you got to walk. You got to learn how to walk. You got to be able to stand up. Well, the thing is that in the past, she may not have been motivated to stand up, but now there's actually a disconnect that she doesn't realize that it's her period that has to be the one that wants to stand up. There's a disconnect happening there. So I'm just kind of giving you all these layers of this because it may help you to understand what you do or really don't want in your life and how to maybe start to shift to the things that you do want in your life, to recognize that it's you ultimately that has to shift into that I want to do what I need to do to get what I want. Okay. So just, recognizing my example here. And then the beautiful Joan's here, and I want to kind of use you as an example too, Joan, is for myself, I stepped into the energy, and we've witnessed other people do this. There's the phrase of, I want to 10 times my life. I chose to step into accelerating my spiritual journey this year. And it really actually started in November, and it's just been like a snowball effect. And then we will have heard this from other mentors who said I decided to 10 times my life, and holy crap, I got hit by a snowball avalanche, right? And it seems to be the familiar story that when we make a decision to step into something in a bigger way, we start to get bombarded by these things. So how badly do we want to stay in that? I do want to accelerate my spiritual journey. Well, I know that if I stayed where I was before November of last year, I wouldn't be where I am now. And I am finding things are falling into place way more easily now because I've chosen to accelerate my spiritual journey, because I've chosen to roll with the punches, is how I'm going to word that, with all the things that I have been literally bombarded by. And I would love to do a little video and just kind of talk about that. Because, and it's not more a poor woe is me, it's more of a, hey, you know what? Each of us have the crap going on in our lives that we think is insurmountable, but the reality of it is how are we handling it? Because when we shift how we handle something, that then shifts how we get through to the other side. I so liken myself to the buffalo rather than the cow. I face the storm, I go into the storm, rather than the cow that runs away from the storm and looks for shelter elsewhere. And that is so intriguing. So then coming over to watching Joan over these last months of this year, well, not the last months of this year, but I think really primarily the entire year of 2023, you have actively been really feeling your way in recognizing the little bits and pieces that you do like and the pieces you don't like, the how fitting in, that's the wrong word, how does working in somebody else's brick and mortar fit in with your life? How does the things that are going on in your life with your spiritual modalities, where do they fit in your life? And it's just been really interesting to watch your experience as you're stepping into this as well, and your questions and that are coming up. So that's why I really wanted to highlight your aspect of things too, because you may not have said something exactly like I did, that I made the choice specifically to accelerate my spiritual journey. You may have done something specific like that as well, or it may have been a subconscious decision, but we're both kind of having the same thing occur because of it. And you are recognizing those aspects, like one of the calls we recently had that you spoke in, I believe it was in the Empowering the Healer Within after the pineal chakra activation, you recognize or have been recognizing that the modalities that you have, that you are not necessarily taking a step back from one, but instead taking a step into really recognizing how do they all come into play with who you are, and what are the strong suits that you can really lean into in a different way. Am I accurate in that verbiage? I don't know what to call that.
Yes, yeah, because I do so many different things. And so it's bringing it together. And in our culture is that you do one thing, and I can't be there. It's just isn't who I am. It's like I do a lot and I don't go into depth in one thing, but I feel like I go into it enough in order to understand it, learn it, and apply it. And then the other modalities actually accent it and bring it all together. It's, yeah.
Exactly. So powerful. And was there a point where you made the decision that this is what you were going to do for 2023, or have you just kind of noticed that it's just been unfolding that way naturally?
You know what? I notice that things are unfolding naturally because it is very natural for me to be wanting to continue learning and expanding my spiritual. That's where, and I just follow it. I follow what happens and that. In fact, one of the things I was going to bring up today is that I've been shown what I consider ugliness in this world. And I would normally say that I like to be an ostrich and bury my head in the sand, but it hasn't been, I haven't been able to do that. Books that come into my awareness, and, not even thinking what I didn't understand what the books were about. And then in reading them, they're exposing so much. And so it's like, how do you deal with that? And in fact, I was dealing with something yesterday and I had to do like a reading on it. The first thing I needed was to ask for protection. And it was amazing how the shift was. But there's something happening too. And it's like a question, why am I being shown all this stuff? And I know that there's a purpose. So I don't know if I'm getting snowballed with it, but it's like, okay, you guys can stop showing me. I've had enough ugliness for a while.
Yeah. I had an incident happen that I thought the same thing. Why am I having this happen again too? And I don't remember what it is. So what I'm saying with that is probably something that's happening for yourself and others as well. It's that it's popping up. We may be actually going, okay, whoa, Nelly, and then we're releasing it immediately. It's not
Yeah.
sticking to us like it was before, or it's a cataloging of the information, possibly a reminder or a new way of looking at something, possibly. Yeah, yeah. Um,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
again, as I mentioned, you're when you look at your life now and what you're kind of stepping into here, and I speak to the general, not just to you specifically, Joanne, and I speak to myself as well. It's that underlying awareness that things are happening. How, and I say this again, how do we want to react to them? How do we want to step into them? Or how do we want to just let them go, right? And in all of that, we are moving forward in a very powerful way. For myself, and I'm gonna speak to this because this is part of what you're possibly experiencing as well, Joan. It is okay. Have come to realize this year that it is okay if some part of your modality, some part of your spirituality is making a fairly large change or fairly large shift or fairly large um, awareness is occurring around it, because that's what's happened to me around, say, the book is the Spiritual How To and the Empowering the Healer Within group, not the paid group, but the program. And I love the throat chakra stuff that's kind of coming up and clearing with this. It is the recognizing how I am now using those modalities, those ways of thinking, that the way I learned how to get to where I am right now, I'm still using it in my new, and I don't want to say new, as my awareness grows, as I evolve and change and become more aware, become more intuitive, become more connected in with myself. I want to really point that out, with myself, and therefore everything. And when I say everything, I don't mean you specifically or anybody else. I mean everything. As I connect to myself more and connect to everything more, those things that I wanted to teach back then, was teaching back then, have now evolved to the cornerstones that are coming in as I evolve and bring people in who are past that learning stage and are more deeply entrenched in their spiritual journey and are now using these cornerstones, foundational stuff. It's just bringing them in to help them understand where they're having their hiccup or their little rut or that little hiccup in their step or the little bit of blockage, to get them through that piece, rather than starting with people who are literally beginning anymore and totally blocked. I'm now really shifted into, these are the pieces that I'm just showing at this level now, which is, and I really just like the word level, because of other mentors that I've heard using next level up or this level or a higher step or anything like this. It's this aspect of things. I much prefer aspect of where we're each at, And there's no yay or nay. And in fact, I work with people at all aspects, but I'm finding, I'm going to use, and I'm finding that those who are now coming to me are um, have more intricate aspects than those who used to come to me. And because of that, I can no longer stand in the energy of what I learned at that learning level. I have to step into the energy of how it's maintaining me and bringing me through these new aspects of this. Ooh, that was powerful, eh? Let me see if I can say that again. I can no longer stay in the energy of where I learned these aspects of my spiritual modalities. I have to move. I'm being asked to move into how these maintain me and move me into the next areas and the other aspects of this as I evolve. Beautiful. Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah. I really like that. Yeah.
Mhm.
Because it's talking about what you've learned and you're not, and you can't stay where you were. And so it's moving into a different aspect. And I really like that because the word levels to me, I don't like because that's elevating
Yeah.
one thing over another. And um, when we elevate things, it creates the chaos it creates it in the world and then within ourselves if we're trying to get to another level rather than just no, we're just moving into another aspect of what we've learned, that we're going to keep what we've learned, but we're going to move into it. I love that. That was very, very powerful. Uh, yeah.
Okay. I think we're gonna kind of wind up there. That's been a really interesting conversation. You know what? Um, yeah. Any takeaways?
To me, it's really about moving into another aspect. I really like that, and not staying where I've learned. And I think sometimes we want to hold on so tightly to what we've learned is that fear of moving forward is a change, a shift. And so it's like, no, you can still keep that learning. It becomes your cornerstone, as you said. That's a cornerstone. And now we're moving into just another aspect and expanding it. So yes,
Uh,
really, really like that.
well, I'm gonna finish this off with the piece that I want to add here. That uh, the motivation part of that now is the desire to see what other aspects of what I learn, what other aspects of what I've learned can I find? Wow. Wow. Yeah, very powerful.